this is kind of a situation where the storyline just pops off and they have like this one crazy night, which is kind of like end of watch. But it's very realistic in the way that they shoot things and the way that things are lit. Like, it's not like fantastical to a degree. Obviously, there's some good effects, but
are there orcs in it?
Well, yeah, obviously there's. Well, not an end of watch.
Oh.
No, sadly, they didn't have the budget for that. So,
oh man,
you know,
yeah, those orcs are they're costly, man. Like,
dude, they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Plus, they're really grumpy to have on set.
I
They're
know.
constantly breaking things. It's just not fun.
So much drama there.
Orcs, man. Everyone knows orcs are just drama. Just avoid them.
Please listen carefully.
Hello and welcome to the Film Revered podcast. I'm Zach.
I'm Amanda.
On today's episode, we have the always amazing Anne Scottlin. Anne is an accomplished actress, producer, life coach, and medieval historian. But first, let's get into the industry news. Big news of the week was Disney and 21st Century Fox's merger. Disney reportedly made a deal to acquire 21st Century Fox to the tune of $52.4 billion. Bearing in mind, they also took on Fox's $13.7 billion standing debt. The deal is set to conclude in 12 to 18 months, pending investigation, and would see Disney acquiring 21st Century Fox's film and television studios, its cable entertainment networks, and international TV businesses. But 21st Century Fox will, however, retain ownership of the Fox broadcast networks, Fox News, and the cable sports network Fox Sports 1. Some other highlights of the deal include Marvel now having access to Deadpool, X-Men, and what I'm excited about, Fantastic Four. Let's make this into a nice movie. A theatrical version release of Star Wars Episode 4 and/or A New Hope is now possible. Now, I actually have a question about this, Amanda. Do you realize why that's like so important about this theatrical cut version possibly being a release of Star Wars?
No, why?
So so I was curious because like I feel like the true Star Wars fans understand this, but there's like a lot of people that are into Star Wars, but maybe they don't know this. But since the initial release of the original trilogy, George Lucas has subsequently been making these special edition versions. Every time they re-release the DVDs, it's like a new special edition, and he adds stuff or takes stuff out of the original film or like adds new effects. So like obviously with the new Blu-ray, you have like a CG Jabba the Hutt. You got freaking, Anakin Skywalker adult version in there, which just looks ridiculous. Like there's just been like a lot of stuff added because he's like, oh, well now I can add stuff because the technology is there, but it ruins the movie to a degree because it's like it takes away from a lot of the art that was originally in the theatrical cut. Up until now, the only way you can get it, and it's still hard, is like going to like a pawn shop or getting it on eBay or Amazon. I guess would be easier. I don't know why. I got mine at a pawn shop, or it was like a Babbage's or something, which I think is out of business now. Is the DVDs. Right now, you can get there's two trilogy packs. One has the theatrical release and the special edition. One doesn't. Or you can buy them individually, and they're the two DVD versions where they have the theatrical cut and the special edition. But that's the best quality you can get right now is DVD. So, and the thing is, like George Lucas repeatedly refused to release the theatrical versions. Like, no, these are the best versions. The newest versions are the best versions. Those are the ones that are going out. And it's like, dude, I just want that theatrical, beautiful version. That stuff I like wore out the VHS tape on. That's what I want in Blu-ray. So now Disney has that for A New Hope. So it's possible they could do an original trilogy theatrical version.
So are they
Blu-ray.
do they have plans to actually release it?
I don't know. I mean, it's Disney, and I feel like if there's enough people that have made enough noise online that would make Disney feel like we could make some money off of this. Not to say, well, I mean, Disney is obviously a little, greedy in the sense of like they're freaking acquiring 21st Century Fox. They're trying to make money off of it somehow. And I do feel like they would make a lot of money if they did like an original trilogy theatrical version Blu-ray release. Psh, take my money, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how much money I'd pay for that because it's embarrassing, but a lot. Disney, if you're listening, take my money. I want it.
I'm sure
bad.
they'll take your money. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, of course, right? It's Disney. So, I mean, we love Disney, but I'm just saying they also love money too. So. But yeah, so that's really exciting for Star Wars fans. And obviously we're kind of Star Wars biased, so I figured I'd throw that in there. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the deal, there is some other massive franchises that now Disney will own, which include Avatar, Alien, and Predator. On the animation side, Disney would now own Blue Sky Studios, which is responsible for the Ice Age franchise, and be the proud owners of The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, Bob's Burgers, and King of the Hill. And it's just honestly kind of insane how much control Disney will now have with regards to some of the most popular franchises in film and television. I mean, what are your thoughts on like all these huge franchises they're acquiring?
Well, I'm actually a little bit concerned, to be honest. I mean, just kind of what Disney did with Star Wars. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I mean, I do like the new Star Wars as much as I like the older ones, but they definitely changed it. And I'm kind of concerned that some of these other, like The Simpsons, like, what, are they going to change it? Are they going to make it more Disney? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, Disney definitely has a certain family branding. I think that is something to be concerned about, and especially with like Predator and Alien or even Deadpool. Like, these are like not kids shows. You know what I mean? These are not kids films.
They're not.
So it's going to be interesting to see who they put in charge of these franchises themselves, as far as like studio executives, and whether or not they're going to try and like, I highly doubt you're going to get a PG-13 Alien or Predator like that. I don't see that, or Deadpool. Like, I feel like Disney's smart enough in that regard. But yeah, it's always curious, I guess, with these things. It's like, who's going to run these studios? Also, I guess you have the fear of like potentially losing jobs. I mean, I know that there was an article, whether or not it was fact or not, but it definitely stated that there was an analyst saying that there might be 5,000 to 10,000 cuts or layoffs due to this merger when it does finally go through, just because Disney has existing staff, or they may be slimming down certain projects. So, I mean, again, that's always something you have to worry about with mergers anyway. But I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like The Simpsons has been around for so long. Maybe it does need a little change. I'm not saying like a family-friendly change, but, I mean, that show's been on for freaking decades.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, that I'm not so worried about. I think, I don't know. And then, like, as far as the Marvel stuff is, like, I feel like Marvel Studios would step in at a certain point and be like, yo, dude, like, look how good we're doing right now. You really want to mess with Deadpool? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, if anything, we're just going to get an even better Deadpool. And it does open up the ideas of having Deadpool and X-Men, like, they're actually being a movie now, because they own the X-Men franchise. I don't think, and that was something that someone asked me, and I'm curious what you think. Do you think they would recast the X-Men now that it's under the Marvel Studios / Disney banner?
I don't know. I honestly, like, I don't know if they would want to actually put in a lot of extra time and money into redoing those. Not redoing them, but I mean,
but yeah,
if they just wanted to,
the new cast.
If they just wanted to, like, make a new cast just to, like, combine the other movies, like, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't, obviously Deadpool's not getting recast. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Let's not kid ourselves here. I'm pretty sure he sleeps in that suit. I know he has one. So, but that being said, like with X-Men, I feel like it's an interesting one because you have New Mutants, which is a totally different storyline with different people, but that's a new cast. So I could see that kind of being expanded upon. On top of that, X-Men itself as a franchise has been so drawn out at this point. It's like they're still making them though. You know what I mean? So right. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if like actors are going to want to continue to do it. You have Hugh Jackman, who is kind of concerned about continuing his Wolverine role. And I think at this point, he's at the point where it's like, I'm only going to do Wolverine if I'm in like an Avengers movie or something like that. I think is something he had mentioned before. So I don't know. I mean, like when you play a role for so long, it's like, do you really want to keep doing it? And then you run the risk of like recasting it and then totally not nailing it. But it is Marvel. I mean, because you got to remember, it's like, yes, Disney's acquiring these things, but they own Marvel Studios. So Marvel Studios is really the people that are going to be in control of this, Fantastic Four and X-Men and Deadpool properties. So I'm really more curious about Fantastic Four because 20th Century Fox / now 21st Century Fox has famously killed Fantastic Four, which concerns me, I guess, with the regards of like rebooting it again. I feel like the audience just doesn't have faith in the franchise anymore.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Fantastic Four, as far as a comic, has some really great source material, but 21st Century Fox has been continuously releasing a movie as like usually around the 7-year mark or like before they get to that point. And the reason why is so they could maintain the licensing. Well, now they don't have to worry about that because they don't own it anymore. So I think if they're going to do it, it's going to have to wait. Obviously, Marvel has a huge catalog of movies that's coming out, so they have that gap of time to fill with all the stuff they already have going. But it could be cool to see maybe a Fantastic Four movie, happen after all these big Marvel releases. I feel it could be enough time to maybe regain, the trust. I mean, it kind of happened with Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, did you like the Amazing Spider-Man movies?
They were okay. I'm very indifferent about that. I really liked the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I kind of like those. And then when they released
we
the
don't
new
talk
ones,
about Spider-Man 3. It's kind of like Godfather Part 1 and 2. You like the first two, you just don't talk about the third one.
Exactly. But no, I mean, when they released the ones with Andrew Garfield, I was like, well, I saw them, and I just kind of, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was new enough, if that makes sense. Like, I felt like it was too soon to create the new ones.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they came out with Spider-Man Homecoming, which I thought had a completely different feel, which was good.
Yeah, and they didn't rehash a lot of the stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have Uncle Ben's death, like, it just already was a thing.
It didn't feel like a redo with Spider-Man Homecoming.
I think that also has to do with Tom Holland actually really being excited to take on the role. Like, Andrew Garfield famously was like, yeah, I'm just not into this anymore, and he quit. So it put them in a corner. But honestly, thank you, Andrew Garfield, because you quitting might have been like the best thing for Spider-Man, because it forced them to have to like redo the whole concept. And then they teamed up with Marvel, and boom, you get Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a phenomenal superhero flick. And Spider-Man's now in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting. Another thing that I want to touch on was the fact that through Fox's stake in Hulu, one of the main streaming competitors for Netflix, for our Canadian listeners who may not know about Hulu, Disney's now going to have 60% share of Hulu, so they will be controlling Hulu. And honestly, this kind of works out perfectly for Disney because they are already planning on making their own streaming service. They could very well just keep Hulu and funnel all their shows plus the newly acquired content from 20th Century Fox into Hulu. Or I guess maybe they could just rebrand Hulu as the infrastructure for the streaming service has already been set up. So it could just become Disney's streaming service. But I kind of like the idea of just keeping it Hulu because like they, a lot of this, like they don't call it Disney's Marvel Studios. You know what I mean? It's just Marvel Studios. So I feel like they could just get away with just keeping Hulu and then just making that like beef it up with all the new content.
So,
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm getting more and more excited for Disney having their own like streaming platform. Especially with this, with this purchase, because I feel like now there's going to be a whole nother platform other than Netflix where you can see a lot of movies, like a lot of good movies and TV shows and things that you actually want to see that maybe right now it's kind of hard to find some of them online.
Well, yeah, I think and Disney might be more inclined to release more content just so that they can be a bigger competitor instead of kind of being selective.
Yeah.
Like I know that Netflix a lot of times would do like the whole like we're only going to show the second movie, like Rush Hour 2 and not Rush Hour 1. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, Netflix, I want to watch the first one.
You want to watch the first one?
I want to watch them all, actually.
Right. Yeah, then you want to go watch the second one and the third and the fourth and however many there are.
I'm curious though. It's like, we touch on the streaming thing as if it's like smaller than everything else, but it's like, that being said, I wonder that had to have had a massive like reasoning or, like a reason or motivation, I guess, for Disney to make this deal because it's like, look, we're going to make our own streaming service. We can't just do Disney stuff only. I mean, obviously, like I said, they have Star Wars, they have Marvel, but them acquiring 21st Century Fox is like, boom, now we're a competitor because we can pull all of our content. And again, I think the reason why I like the idea more of Hulu just staying Hulu and then just pumping it into Hulu or just rebranding Hulu is it's like not another streaming service I have to buy. Like I already have Hulu.
Do you pay pay for the Hulu Premium?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I don't pay for it because guess what? Most of the stuff that I want is on Netflix.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. I'm really curious to see where it goes, and I think it does open up a lot of pathways for their existing partnerships, like with Marvel Studios, to really expand upon the whole universe instead of just parts of it that they own.
Right.
So, but again, this won't go through until like, 12 months to 18 months. They have to be investigated to make sure that everything's above board and that there's not any issues. But from what I've seen in articles, it looks like it's going to go through no problem. Like they won't have any issues with the deal. So that's it. And again, keep in mind, listeners, that this was just a small portion of the deal. We will leave links to a couple of articles that I researched with for this information so you can see the full extent of the deal in the link dump. But what else is going on? I know there's like a big, super huge opening.
Well, yeah. So speaking of Disney, basically, let's talk Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So don't worry, though. There will be no spoilers here, so you can keep listening and not be worried about. I actually haven't seen it yet, so I can't really spoil it for you anyway.
Star Wars news, Porg edition.
Well,
no spoilers.
That's a part of it. All right. So Thursday previews alone raked in $45 million, which...
That's a heavy Thursday.
It is, but it's still $12 million less than Force Awakens. So they are just a bit behind. Currently, it's sitting at $220 million domestically just for opening weekend. That's just domestically. So that's pretty crazy. That's 27.9 million behind Force Awakens.
Okay, so still trailing, but damn.
Still trailing, and honestly, I don't know if it's actually going to catch up at all. I don't think it will. I don't think there's enough time.
Yeah, keep it in mind, listeners, that this information is being pulled on a Sunday because we record, obviously, prior to Monday. So, I mean, they could have a huge surge Sunday. I don't know.
They could. It's possible, for sure. So now let's talk about the reviews that The Last Jedi is getting. So there is a great disturbance in the Force here.
Whoa. I don't like this. Continue.
It's a divided opinion. So the critics are loving it. Cinema Score gave it an A. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 93% fresh. But the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is only at 57%. A lot of the audience members are saying that it feels rushed. It's a good movie, but maybe not a good Star Wars movie.
Oh, man, that's not a good thing.
It's not. Some people are saying it's a new take, but it's definitely Disney, especially with the Porgs. So,
oh no.
The Porgs are another thing.
No.
They're adorable, and you have half the people saying, "Oh my god, they're so cute. I already own a stuffed animal Porg." The other half are saying, "It is just a cheap marketing gimmick with no purpose in the story whatsoever." So honestly, I think I'm actually really going to like the movie based on what people are saying.
Look, I like me some Porgs, so you're saying only makes me want to watch it that much more. So,
I think they're adorable. I think people are taking themselves too seriously, and they should just appreciate cute things for what they are. It's cute. That's it. So
yeah,
there are a lot of complaints that Force Awakens was too similar to the original movie. And now they're saying The Last Jedi is too different. So
yeah, too dissimilar. Interesting.
Right. And I think it's because Force Awakens was essentially a New Hope, in a lot of aspects.
It was very much heavily playing on the nostalgia factor for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I think fans were expecting The Last Jedi to be The Empire Strikes Back. Which
is funny because I feel like if it was like that, then they would have gotten shit on.
Right.
But now that they go a different, there's no winning.
No, there isn't. Exactly. Like, people are always going to complain about something. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, they're going to maybe complain more or less, depending on what the situation is. But I mean, I guess while there were similarities to The Empire Strikes Back, it just wasn't the same. And I think people had that expectation and then felt disappointed that it wasn't like that.
Yeah. Also, I think a huge thing about this too is it's like, we're now fully exploring, I think, again, I haven't seen the film either, and please, for the love of God, when you start talking about this podcast and Twitter this week, don't tell me about it. I'm going to try and see it in my small little town of Michigan when I go home for the holidays. I'm hoping that there'll still be tickets and it won't be sold out. But that being said, I do feel like this is one of the movies that's going to focus more heavily on the new cast, and maybe that's why it feels so different to people. But to be fair, I don't know, man. I'm really excited about it. I mean, at least with the Porgs, it's not Jar Jar Binks. Like, I don't feel like the Porgs are on Jar Jar Binks level. Like, I'm not lining up to get a Jar Jar Binks, doll for my desk, like a figure.
Right.
However, and again, you mentioned the Porgs. I got a little hesitant to mention this, but I don't care because I like Porgs. As you can see on our website, we got this ridiculous Porg poster that we found from comicbook.com. That's for our episode 2 image. But I definitely ordered me a Porg for my desk.
Did you?
I ain't gonna lie.
Did you?
I did.
Did you get one?
I did.
You got one?
And I got the Mac Daddy, the one that like talks and has like the wings and stuff.
Wow.
Like basically the Furby edition of the Porg.
I'm pretty jealous, to be honest. Like, I kind of want one.
Yeah, man. Got it right in time too. Like, I'm actually literally having it sent to Michigan just to make sure I get it. But yeah, it's really cool. It cost me a pretty penny. It was like $50, but well worth it. It's like life size.
It's life size?
Well, like to the Porg
Oh my God.
size, which to be fair, they're not that massive.
I just imagined it like to be your height. Like, I don't know why. That's where I went to.
Creepy guy in like a Porg skin suit. That got creepy. I'm not talking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre skin suit. I'm just like,
oh no.
Well, that got dark quickly.
Now I'm imagining like a taxidermied Porg your size. Like your height. And it's like, oh no.
I love the idea. It's like, I hunted the biggest Porg out there known to man.
Oh my
it's
God.
Like this epic Jaws like freaking mythos with this Porg. I'm like in its mouth. Oh my God. Love it. I kind of want a Porg this massive.
Yeah, I want you to have one. I think that would be good.
I want a Porg that's going to break my desk, people. Make it happen. Make it happen. Someone custom make that. Send it to me. Email me. I'll give you my address. If you're really willing to make one, I'm down. So, and is there anything else that you'd like to add to that, or is that really just kind of like the mixed audience reviews, I guess? I mean, I can definitely see where
there's a lot of mixed audience reviews. Some people are saying it's absolutely perfect, but for the most part, it seems like a lot of people are slightly disappointed. A lot of the fans, at least. And I think you're also having, a lot of the people who love the original trilogy, they're parents now. Or, maybe they will be soon.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of with the new Star Wars coming in, and yes, it is very Disney, I do agree. But I think it's also for the new generation so that they can enjoy it also, because you can't just take something and make it exactly the same as it was before and expect these new kids to be absolutely in love with it. It's just a different time. It's
even
new.
expect the fans to like it still.
Right.
Because they'll hate that too. So I think also with this, like you keep saying, it's very Disney, and you're right in saying that. But to be fair, like I remember seeing Star Wars as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, This isn't like, I wouldn't see Deadpool as a kid. Are you kidding me? My parents would be like, I remember the first rated R movie. This is a nice little fun fact. The first rated R movie I ever saw, I think it was 10 years old, was Black Hawk Down. And the only reason why my parents let me see that, which probably they shouldn't have, because that movie was pretty graphic. It's a war movie about the Somalia incident with the U.S. Army and Delta Forces operations. But anyways, they let me see it because it was a historical movie. You know what I mean? Based on a historical event. But even then, they regretted that. But there's no way in hell they'd let me see Deadpool. But Star Wars, yeah. I had the VHS at home. I still have the same 3 VHS tapes that I had when I was a kid. So I feel like if you're going to be more Disney about something, Star Wars isn't as big of a deal to me as, say, being more Disney with like a Deadpool. I guess we'll leave it there. I think that's a good spot. The nominations for the 24th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards were announced on Wednesday morning. And Amanda and I would like to share the first 4 categories of nominations with you guys and gals. We will also leave a link with the full list of nominations in link dump for you listeners that want to know all the nominations for the 24th Annual SAG Awards. So starting off, we have the nominations for Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Leading Role. And those are Timothée Chalamet, Call Me By Your Name, James Franco, The Disaster Artist, Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out, Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington, Roman J. Israel Esquire.
And for the outstanding performance by a female actor in a leading role, we have Judi Dench in Victoria and Abdul, Sally Hawkins, The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie, I, Tonya, and Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird.
For outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role, we have Steve Carell, Battle of the Sexes, Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins, The Shape of Water, and Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
For outstanding performance by a female actor in a supporting role, we have Mary J. Blige in Mudbound, Hong Chow in Downsizing, Holly Hunter, The Big Sick, Allison Janney, I, Tonya, and Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird.
So I guess going off of those 4 categories, it's safe to say that I, Tonya, Shape of Water, Lady Bird, and more importantly, I guess in this case, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri are huge hits. I mean, they're getting nominated left and right. But I know that you're a huge fan of Shape of Water, so the fact that there's several nominations, and again, this is just the first 4 categories. Obviously, there's many more nominations, but yeah, I think Shape of Water really did shape up to do well. So I think you called that early on in the show. So.
And I will definitely be talking more about The Shape of Water later when we get into the What to Watch section.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised about that. So you guys going to have to stay tuned for her What to Watch. I'm sure it's going to convince you, if she hasn't already, to go see that movie. So, but I also would like to point out the fact that you guys, the listeners, are going to be able to get more of an insight into the nomination process for the SAG Awards with our guest today, because she is actually a member of the Screen Actors Guild Awards nominating committee. So we actually go into detail. We actually even highlight Victoria and Abdul with Judi Dench. She talks about going to the screening for that. So that's really cool. So you guys get a little bit of an insight in the interview. So really good timing on that. So I think it's time, Amanda, that we get into some trailer drops.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So starting out with the trailer drops, we have Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, which has released a new trailer. For those listeners who have not yet heard of the best-selling novel by Ernest Cline or the film, the plot revolves around the virtual reality world called Oasis. The creator of said world dies, and upon his death releases a video that challenges all Oasis users to find his hidden Easter egg within the world. The finder of said egg will gain his fortune. We're talking to the tune of trillions of dollars. The audience will follow the journey of the Oasis user Wade Watts as he uses his first clue to set off on a race to find the egg. Getting to the trailer, it's epic. First off, you got Van Halen's Jump playing throughout the trailer. You can't go wrong with that. Van Halen, a little bit Jump. Beautiful. I'm ready. Take my money. Art style, breathtaking. There is a massive collection of pop culture references spanning from the DeLorean, Chucky, and even Tracer from Overwatch. Like, I know in the book they had like a lot of those 80s references, 90s references, but man, then you got Tracer from Overwatch. Like, that is current. And in short, this film's going to be massive. And I want my ticket into Oasis now. We need to go see this movie. I'm telling you. Everyone needs to see this movie. This isn't even a what to watch, but when this movie comes out, you need to watch it. It looks amazing. Have you seen the trailer, Amanda?
Oh, yes, of course, I have.
And what are your thoughts? What do you think about Ready Player One?
I think it looks really exciting, but I'm also a little bit concerned about it.
No, I refuse. I'm shutting it down. Cutting the mic.
I mean, there are a few things that are pretty different from the book, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think that it'll either be absolutely fantastic, or I think it might just kind of fall on its face a little bit.
No, I refuse. It will fall on its feet. It will land perfectly. 10 out of 10 landing. Maybe 9 out of 10. That's a little high. Maybe 8 out of 10. I'm gonna go 80% on Rotten Tomatoes on this one. Maybe 75.
Yeah.
I'm showing some doubt now. This is not good. I started off so strong. You're freaking me out, man.
I know. I'm sorry. There's parts in the trailer where you know these people are getting in their suits and cars, and it just kind of feels a little bit childish, which is what I'm concerned about. But hey, you know what? I'm still gonna see the movie because I think it could be fantastic.
You know what, Amanda? I'm gonna lay this on you real quick. You think that Chucky is childish when he's chopping up people with his knife? Chucky doll style?
No, I mean, that's not what I'm saying.
That ain't childish. That's creepy.
No,
I know his movie originally was called Child's Play, but there ain't nothing about a children's movie in that movie. Granted, he's on the screen for like literally half a frame, and I had to like really super sleuth the fact that Chucky's in the trailer. But I'm just saying he's in it, so I'm just putting that out there.
Well, all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, I'll definitely give it a chance. Okay, don't worry. I'm not gonna go into it hating it already. So don't worry.
I feel you can go into it with some doubt.
A little bit, but I mean, hey, like
Maybe you'll just be
the
pleasantly
trailer
surprised.
is making me doubt things. So
I saw Thor 2 and I was like, Thor Ragnarok gonna suck. Saw it and I was like, best Marvel movie I've ever seen in my life.
I thought the
So,
exact same thing about that movie.
What other trailer came out that was
So-
big enough to talk about on the show?
Well, a trailer. So for a little movie called Annihilation. Basically, it's about a biologist who signs up for a dangerous secret expedition where the laws of nature don't apply. Now, that really does not say anything about the trailer, about the actual movie. It's like that could practically mean anything, I think. It's being called one of the most anticipated titles of next year. It marks the return of Ex Machina's writer-director Alex Garland. It's based off of the novel by Jeff Vandermeer. So some funny things that kind of people have been saying about it. I saw a bunch of really funny comments. And I'll just go ahead and read to you kind of what some people are saying.
Oh, man.
Basically, it's about Padme Amidala along with the female Ghostbusters team, where they venture into the Upside Down to figure out how to save her husband, Poe Dameron's life. And from the looks of it, they have a lot more creatures to worry about than just Demogorgons. So
Oh, man.
it looks
I
like...
mean, to be fair, in the defense of Annihilation, the Upside Down is like beautiful.
It's called The
and
Shimmer.
Very gorgeous. Oh, The Shimmer. Man,
It's the
damn.
Shimmer.
All right.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it looks... This movie, I think it looks amazing. Actually, like it looks great, and I loved Ex Machina, and I thought Alex Garland did a fantastic job on that, and I think he will do a fantastic job on this movie as well. There's actually some funny things happening about it. So, producer David Ellison, who is the head of Skydance Pictures, urged Garland to change the ending of the movie because of a poor test score from an early audience screening, but mega producer Scott Rudin supported Garland's original vision, so the ending will not, in fact, be changed. It will be the same ending. However, Paramount...
Oh, man.
Yeah. Paramount sold the international distribution rights to Netflix. So, 17 days after Annihilation's domestic debut, it will already be on Netflix overseas. I urge you to go see it in theaters if you can. Support the film industry.
Yeah, you got to help those box office numbers, man. Studios, to me, it doesn't matter as much, but to studios, it matters a whole hell of a lot.
It does.
And they will cancel franchises or potential movies or not give directors a shot when their movies perform poorly. So definitely want to support them by seeing it in the theater. Plus, you get that Mac Daddy experience in the theater. Big old screen, nice surround sound.
It's a different experience, different atmosphere.
Yeah, you get that 4D experience where you got your chair shaking and everything. You got some smells coming and hit you.
I think that'll be a great. Go see Annihilation. Go do that D box. Is that what it's called? D box
Yeah,
or something?
it's like a 4D experience.
Yeah,
like
go
we have
do
them here in
that.
Canada at Scotiabank Theater. They do like this 4D thing,
Sounds
which is I think in
weird.
the US too. It's not as common. I honestly, it's gonna die out, but still, why not? Go do it. I mean,
do
the
it
concept
while
should
it's
mind.
while it's happening, right? While it's out here.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see. All right. And yeah, no, don't do it. Don't, you know what? Don't. Just go see the movie in theaters.
Just
don't,
see
don't,
it.
Don't
Yeah,
support
it's
that.
fine. It's kind of gimmicky, right?
Support the film.
these
Don't support
chairs
the gimmick of
shake.
these 4D chairs.
And they
yeah.
do they like spray water at you too when like stuff
No, but
happens?
it's funny because like I saw Thor Ragnarok, right? And I saw it in a theater that was kind of interesting because the majority of the theater were normal seats, right? But then they had these 4D chairs in there, and honestly, it wasn't distracting. It's just like I'm already laughing at the movie. So I'll give you that. Like the movie's great, right? I'm laughing at the jokes. But I'm also laughing at how ridiculous these people looked in these chairs as they're shaking around and jiggling all over the place. It just looked how do you take yourself seriously doing that?
They're
Like,
jiggling all over the place.
oh yeah, they're more American sized, but but yeah, like, and they had their popcorn in the hand, popcorn's flying everywhere. Like, I don't know, man, it just seemed ridiculous. And again, it's even more ridiculous. You're just sitting there in a normal chair enjoying a film like a normal person. Again, if you like these 4D chairs, I mean, more power to you, man. We are going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we will have Anne Scottlin on the show. She is a super talented actress, a producer, a life coach, and medieval historian. Scotland recently finished shooting in France as a lead actress in the international feature Silent Cry and won the Best of Bernal Festival Award with the cast of the film Recipe for Love. She has traveled extensively and volunteers with Amnesty International with a special emphasis on international women's issues. But for now, enjoy the music and enjoy the interview when we get back.
Very fun. I enjoyed it. I need to listen to podcasts more. I tend to kind of just forget to do it, and I just need to because this is Los Angeles, and I spend so much time in my car. There's no reason not to be listening to a lot of podcasts. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, welcome to the show. I'm super happy to have you here. You've had quite the career so far, ranging from short films, television shows, a web series, and even some international feature film work. I'd love to start by talking about your short film, No Stones for Azadeh. This seems to be quite a bit of a passion project for you as you wrote, directed, produced, and acted in the film. What drew you to the source material?
Wow, thank you, Zach. And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's just really nice to be here. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I'm just so excited about what you're doing. It's a real gift, and I think it needs to be done. So thank you to you for that.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, we're happy to have you here.
Yeah, so this film, No Stones for Azadeh, I had been working as the assistant director of an Amnesty International group for several years, and the stories that you come upon, you might imagine, can kind of rattle your brain and your mind and your heart and just really open your eyes to the way other people are living in the world. And we were working on some real life cases that were really similar to what ended up being the content of my film. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, was tell the story in film form in a much shorter version of some of the women's cases we were working on at the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and it's an important story to tell. And unfortunately, I feel like some of these kind of these more international issues kind of fall into the limelight as far as, within, the U.S. They're not as, heard about. So I think it's great that there's a film out there that, you helped make that kind of explores these situations that are very real in other parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for your listeners, so the story in a nutshell is about a young Middle Eastern woman who's accused of adultery and was actually innocent, but she wasn't able to provide a legal defense for herself. And it's the culture is very different, obviously. They have so much religious influence on it, and choices are very difficult, and tradition is very hard to break. So it was basically talking about her story and the fact that she had no recourse and she was condemned to death by stoning. And
Wow.
How through some international human rights organizations who were able to find out about her case, which again was like some cases we were currently working on, that I was working on, was able to get legal representation and get a stay of execution from her government, which was very hard to get, with the potential that she would at least be able to present her case before she's killed, before she was executed.
Jeez.
So that's the nature of the story, and kind of calling attention to the fact that dynamic happens and how human rights organizations sometimes are able to get involved and make a difference.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I think most people would immediately assume is something that they would be involved in with human rights organizations, but it is incredibly important. So it's great that that is actually happening in areas like that are affected with these kind of incidents.
So much, so important. Yes, for sure.
What were some of the challenges with making the film that you may have come across?
Well, part of it was how to educate, I guess from a kind of a preparation point of view with the content was kind of, I wanted to really create a way to open busy Western minds to this human dilemma far away and make it somewhat relatable, because it's so foreign for so many of us, to make it relatable on sort of a human to human basis. And also just raising awareness that, we were at that time still under an administration that was responsive to pushing for U.S. policy changes on countries that have records of high human rights abuses. So it was kind of opening people's eyes to the fact that they could be involved in a process that sometimes can work. So that was kind of, how do I do that and how do I present that in a certain way was definitely part of designing the story and the script. And as far as like literal challenges, boy, making any movie is filmmaking is so many challenges. Well, I have to pick one. Locations. Locations are really tricky, especially if you're shooting about a different culture in a different part of the world. You have to deal with literal, like the stoning field, which for them would have just been outside their village, right, somewhere.
It's just such a crazy concept in the fact that you're just like, yeah, it's just this little kind of like a park, just outside the village. It's like, my God,
it's just
that
there,
is horrifying.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had to think about, and I mean, it's never perfect from a filmmaker's point of view. But you had to think about kind of what's the light like what time of day did I need to shoot at to capture sort of that very bright desert sunlight, that feeling. Mm-hmm. Also, what's the dirt going to look like? I mean, it just can't look like an American park or anything like that, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And even the rocks, I had to think about the rocks and stones themselves to be at least similar in color to what you might geologically find in a region like that. So it was just bizarre sort of having to deal with some of those things. And since it was the first project I'd shot with the idea of being in a foreign location, I had to think about that. Another thing as far as locations was we had to figure out how we were going to shoot a Middle Eastern prison cell. And maybe when you have a big budget, these are not as relevant issues, but we investigated some real jail locations, but we just didn't have the money. I mean, the cost involved just to use it for, a few hours was kind of preventable. And so great solution to share, I guess, was my good friend Craig. He has an extensive theater background. And he suggested something to me that I had never really even paid attention to before, but other filmmakers might be interested in if they're doing smaller projects, which is using theater gobos. So I don't know if you know what a gobo is.
Yeah, it's something that you would put up in front of, I guess, a light or a lens to...
Exactly.
Maybe, yeah. To like,
exactly.
Yeah, you can better explain it to me.
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly what it is. And, I'd seen it done. I just didn't really pay attention to the equipment before. And so it's basically a partial screen. It's usually like a round stainless steel piece that fits over the end of a spotlight and projects a shape. And so in this case, he suggested that we stage it in more of a stage type production and then use this because it projects shadows. So the prison bars are projected as shadows. And we didn't have to bring in actual hardware, which would have been very tricky to make that look genuine. So it was all just lighting. So it was really quite cool. And one of those great things you learn when you're working on a film.
Yeah, it's
set.
like it's a very simple concept, but very effective at the same time. So especially when you're dealing with the much harder, which would be getting a location like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, for filmmakers, that's always but it's great. It's great. You get creative minds, and you talk to your friends, and you talk to other people who've been doing it longer than you, and it might not be easy, but you almost always can come up with a good solution.
Surround yourself with great people and you'll get great ideas.
Absolutely.
What would you say would be like one of the more memorable or rewarding experiences to come out of making this film?
Wow. Well, really, like in the most immediate sense, like while we were shooting, I think seeing even the cast and crew learning from the story itself. It was really interesting because this was such a foreign concept for a lot of people. Yeah. And for me, realizing that even the process of making the film was creating awareness, because you never know where the life of the film will go or how the course of festivals will go or whatever. But like even on the most basic level, you're reaching people and people were really learning. And I think most of the people on the set, one, had a very faint, if any, knowledge that this actually still happens, like this girl's story. Mm-hmm. And then also the idea that regular people like you and me can get involved. And there's no sure recipe for success, and there's a lot of failures. But the idea that you can actually go out and make a difference in someone's life, like a person like this, with both individual and collective effort, it just really kind of, I think it made them feel good too. You know, they felt like they were making a difference. And so I think everybody felt good about being on the project. It had a very positive vibe about doing something good. And that was fun. It was great.
Now, is this film, I know that this isn't, something that we talked about before, but is this film accessible online for a listener that might want to view this, or is there a way for someone to purchase this film?
It was online for a while. I think it might have been pulled down because we were going to add some post-editing changes.
Okay.
Also, we were getting ready to submit to the festival circuit.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, many projects get sort of stalled out there. So hopefully it will still move forward, and even possibly more likely than that, because we did have some limited showings, private viewings, and whatnot, and did some submissions earlier. Possibly even extend and reshoot that story. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to keep track of that. And then obviously when, you do come to that point, we'd love to share it out on the Twitter account and also on the page, and kind of so listeners that have heard this episode can actually see the actual film itself. Yeah. Now, as you stated earlier, you're involved in a variety of international human rights causes, especially for women, and have volunteered with various human rights organizations in recent years. What are some of the organizations that you're involved with?
Well, as I think I had already mentioned, I was involved for several years in Amnesty International, which is an amazing organization. And there's individual websites all over the world for them. For the U.S., the best site to start at is amnestyusa.org. And that's literally based for a U.S. audience and has sort of U.S. action that can be taken. So you can start making a change in the way that's set up organizationally for it to work immediately, which is really great. And you can go to many of the other Amnesty sites as well for different countries or regions, and see more stories, more information. A lot of it ties together. They've been around for so long and so comprehensive, and I think there's a shift going on right now. They have a way of addressing and policy changes and requesting policy changes that used to be different from how it is today. It used to be more intensely activist related, maybe like in the 60s and 70s and whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's a place and time for everything. I think there's definitely still a place for visual on the streets kind of activism. And there's also different approaches that they're taking now, which is, really utilizing modern things and cyber skills and cyber communication and just all of social media, and finding other ways and other platforms to really modernize and bring about change more efficiently and more quickly and with more people involved than just like the people who happen to be in their local group in Los Angeles, for example. So it's kind of exciting and changing, and one of many other wonderful organizations, but they are great, and I highly recommend anyone who wants to get involved. It's very easy to get involved. You don't really have to do anything. There's not a lot that a person who's just getting involved for the first time has to do in their off time. It's mostly going to meetings and working on some mutual projects together. So it's an easy one to get started in. And then I'm in the process of right now of creating a humanitarian awareness group of my own.
Really?
And I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, it's in the infancy stages right now, but it's going to be called Allies of Women for World. So it's Allies of Women for World. And the tagline to kind of explaining that is men and women empowering women for a better world. So I know I benefit tremendously from all the activism of all the women's libbers of the 60s and 70s, 80s, and thank you to all of them. I'm deeply appreciative. But I think a more millennial type approach is really a more inclusive approach that involves men as well. I mean, there's so many things that have been proven around the world, like one of the very best ways to improve the socioeconomic situation of any country or any developing country is to educate the women, even more than the men, because the women are so driven to make sure that their children succeed and are healthy and get educated. And there's a certain survival drive, I think, that's just part of women that really is a force to be reckoned with. So, empowering women in their countries to get educated and to educate their sons and their daughters. And then, incorporating I'm married to a wonderful man who's very supportive of women domestically around the world and just a great teammate. And I would never want amazing people like him or yourself to feel excluded for something. So I didn't want to be like women for women, women for women in the world. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's a place for everything. But this is more like a unified effort, a unified international effort, ultimately, would be my dream, for really empowering women around the world to make the world a better place. And we don't leave the men lost along the way. They're brought into that both from the action point and also in the benefit, right? So, and we don't have a website yet or anything. It is on Twitter, although there's only a few tweets on there so far. It just barely started.
Infancy stages.
Yeah, but it's Allies of Women for World, or the at women, the numeral 4_world. So at women, the numeral 4_world. But thank you for asking about that, because I'm kind of excited about the potential for this and where it might go.
Yeah. Well, and I think both organizations are something that they have a really good message. I feel like most of the audience, as well as just in general, people would want to get involved in. So I definitely see that going far for you as far as your own personal organization.
Yeah.
And also, we will leave links to these organizations for listeners who'd like to learn more or get involved in the episode description. So that way, if you maybe miss what, the website drops in the actual audio, then we'll make sure that it's in the episode description as well.
Great. Thank you so much. And speaking of that, gosh, I know you know this, Zach. I mean, we're living in just some pretty grim stuff right now, I mean, sometimes the news is literally almost more than I can watch. Like I have to deal out small portions of the news to myself. So, around the time of the election last year, ironically, I was just decided I really wanted to create something that was more of a positive, creative, motivational vibes that help us focus on good feelings and up and lifting each other up and stuff that really matters. And so I know you already know this, but for the listeners, if they like some beautiful images and positive motivation for life, they can also check out my my popular Twitter magazine, which is just at Anne Scottlin, at ANNESCOTTLIN. I think we have over 40,000 followers now. And I post multiple times a day. It's all original writing. The writing's all original content. So, just spreading the positive vibe, right?
Yeah, no, I know we've actually, retweeted a couple or liked a couple on the Film Revered account. Yeah, well, I mean, look, everyone needs a little bit of positive.
Absolutely.
So I totally understand that. So, yeah, people need to go check that out. Now, getting back to your, acting career, how you've been involved with investigative discovery. How did that come about?
Wow. Yeah. So as you know, I don't know if you've watched some of the Discovery ID channel programs. They're really fun. It's kind of like junk food. You can't stop watching it once you get into it. It's just really addicting. And they're really fun to make. This was sort of the typical agent submission. I got called in. In fact, there's another one that when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, there's another episode that I had almost forgotten about, which is called I Almost Got Away with It. It's another Discovery ID show that I had a lead role in. So all of these Discovery ID projects, they're just fun. I mean, you go in for the audition and, you kind of know what you're going to be doing and the character you're going to be playing and all this, and you've sort of prepared, of course, and you get in there, and then the casting director just says, okay, that was great. Now I want you to go over the top about 10 times bigger. and if you're at all a highly trained actor, you're just like, what?
Yeah, you're like, look, I'm giving you gold here. This is serious. And let's go a little more campy or, a little more over the top. Can you do that?
Really? They're like, can you really just really scream and pull your hair out kind of? And you're just like, wow. And then you start realizing how fun that is, because we're normally trying to be so, real and tempered, right? And,
definitely.
So then it just becomes this insane fun audition that's just crazy, and you can hardly believe you're being filmed because you're like, someone's going to watch this. And, but it was really fun. And it's even on the set, it's like that, you know. It's crazy and it's big and it's over the top, but it's a blast. It really is. And I was on several of those shows, and
Yeah.
and it was great.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear that because like I feel like a lot of audience members, they get really into the actual episode and they're watching. I guarantee you, almost everyone has seen one of these episodes. We all go down that road. It'll be on TV,
Yeah.
and then you watch like 5 of them, and you're like, where did my night go? But I'm not really complaining.
Right.
But now it's 2:00 in the morning. But it is funny just to hear that, like, the actual set stories themselves. It's like you have to wonder sometimes you're watching, it's like, gosh, like what was it like when they filmed that? Because some of it, yeah, like it can be like way over the top.
It is. I actually have footage of me. I'm a wronged woman. I play a wronged wife that lives in a trailer park in this particular instance, and my husband has gotten the teenage neighbor girlfriend pregnant.
As you do.
That is so not okay. But of course, how I deal with it is, and I'm wearing this, like, Zach, you cannot believe I can't even watch it. I'm wearing these leopard tights and this leopard top, and my hair is all out, and I'm running across the trailer park, and we filmed it in a trailer park, for real. Running across the trailer park with an ice pick.
Oh my gosh.
To the girlfriend's house, and I stab her in the stomach, and she's pregnant. Like,
Whoa.
This stuff is insane.
Man, that is savage.
And then, and obviously it's just a special effects and lots of fun stuff like that. But it's when I say over the top, I'm not kidding.
I love like I'm sure got the script and you're like, all right, cool. So I'm wearing kind of an interesting, all right, and okay, this is where I run across, and then I what?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. How many times am I stabbing her in the stomach? Jesus. All right.
And just so the audience knows, everybody lived and the baby was fine and all that, right? For real. But
which is insane, by the way.
It's insane. It's insane. But
my God.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, definitely. Which is a weird sense of fun, but I feel like when you get involved in shows like that, that's what happens.
When you're making it and it's all, and you know that what you're doing in real time is just make believe, then it's really fun. The trick is
definitely
being in your actor's spirit and being in real in the make believe.
I'm legit trying to kill this baby right now in my mind, but this is also really fun.
That's the tricky part. Oh my goodness.
So after you wrapped, I Almost Got Away with It, you were involved in the web series Smosh, which I feel like a lot of people have heard about with the rise of YouTube and how massive it's become. Smosh has been one of those original channels that have been around for a long time. So I guess my question really, like, first off would be, what was it like being involved in like a web series episode after having done these short films as well as television shows?
Oh, it was so fun. I mean, shooting in a web series, it depends on the set and the director, obviously. But it's so fun because in many cases, there's a little more time to get everything done. I mean, on working TV sets, you don't get very many takes and everything is just so quick. And, it's just like a massive rush. And it's fun to kind of take time and sit back and, there's kind of less of a hierarchy sometimes in a web series. It depends again on the web series where like the director and the writer and the producer and all the actors were all just hanging around with their feet up on the table, eating sandwiches for lunch. And it's just really, it's just fun. I mean, it was fun. It was less stressful and more fun as far as I was concerned anyway. And as far as Smosh, I mean, Andrew and Daniel are, as you know, the founders and actors, main act. They're just amazing. I mean, they're true geniuses in their own right. And so funny. So, yes, I had fun.
Yeah. So your episode on Smosh, which was life hacking, which we'll also leave a link to, was viewed nearly 30 million times. Did you have any idea? Like, obviously, like the channel was big, but did you have any idea that your episode was going to be like, yeah, this is going to be seen by at least 30 million people?
No, absolutely not. I just didn't even fathom that. In fact, I didn't even know that until a few months ago where I was like, I should look up and see how that thing is doing. And I think when I checked last time, it was like, it's like 900,000 or a million or something. It's like, wow, a million views, And I was like, what? Almost 30 million views? What in the world? That's just insane. but that's great. You know, we love that stuff as actors because that's the stuff that agents and managers want to know about, and casting people. They want to know if you have views, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's great and really exciting, but no, I had never imagined it would have been that big, and I'm so glad for them. They so deserved it because they worked hard. I can tell you, those two guys, they work so hard. It looks like goofy. It's goofy, but it is such hard work behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, YouTube is no joke. Like, I feel like it's often misrepresented in the media, and it's like, no, like, there's a lot of work, you know, and I mean, it's funny that you mentioned like that it was like 1 million views and then now it's at 30, because they really do snowball, because once it hits that point, then YouTube will start featuring it more, and then more people see it, and then it just gets to the point where you're at 30 million views.
Yeah, it's just exponential after that, and then it gets really exciting.
And I also love that they actually featured you in the end as like this little fake promo at the end of the episode too, which is kind of funny too. So.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, thanks,
also
guys.
over the top.
Yeah,
but,
also
you know,
very
but still
over the
funny.
top. As you know, yes, these are my very over the top shows, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in getting more into some more serious stuff, maybe you recently finished shooting in France as a lead actress in an international feature titled Silent Cry. What can you tell the listeners about that film?
Yeah, wow. This is another human rights film, and definitely takes me back into more of those serious roles that I'm often attracted to, just because it relates to things I'm passionate about, like deeply passionate about. They were casting in Los Angeles for it, and so I went. I was able to submit. I was able to get the audition. And I knew they really liked me, but what I was being cast for, so the story is, it's about Iran in the 1980s, and the takeover of the Shah, and a lot of the political and personal chaos and massive human rights abuses that ensued. And the way the story was written, that I am I would be a present day reporter from Los Angeles. Who goes to interview survivors of a lot of the massacres that happened at that time. And a lot of the survivors live and had fled originally to France, in particular Paris. There's a lot of people from there that were key players, key movers and shakers and reformers and movie makers and writers and public figures back at that time who had to flee. And so the idea of the story is going and interviewing those people to really reconstruct what it was like. And then the film has flashbacks to like the 80s, so that you can kind of see the conditions and the stories that were happening. And I was really kind of taken by the whole story. And I knew they were supposed to cast a Persian-looking actress.
Well, you got that nailed, right? I mean, any listener who's seen your picture, I'm sure they're like, nailed it. Awesome.
Yeah, the long blonde hair didn't give anything away, you know. And I was like, boy, and I knew they finally, as they narrow it down, producer session, et cetera, finally got down to me and this other actress who I didn't know who it was, but I knew she was, more ethnically matched for the film. And so I wrote them a 3-page personal proposal to the director and the producer, and told them all the reasons why I was right for the role. And it went into sort of my own background and how this was a passion project for me, just because I'm already passionate about what their story and about the nature of what they were producing. So I just did my best and sent it in, and believe it or not, they cast me, and they had to tweak the story a little bit, that I'm half Persian, which I still think is a little bit of a stretch, but freaks of nature happen, right?
Yeah. No, it happens. It happens.
So I get to be the half Persian investigative reporter, and that was great.
Yeah. What was it like traveling abroad for work?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I mean, I'm a travel addict already, but to do it and be, working and having, all your expenses paid for and everything, that was really fun and really wonderful. It was also really hard. It's hard enough when you're shooting in an environment that you're used to, people speaking the language you're used to. And, at least for those of us, say in LA, often we're shooting in LA, although sometimes we're shooting other places. But there's a sort of sense of kind of, where your comfort zone is. When you need to just chill, you can go crash at a Starbucks by yourself, or, you kind of have it figured out, right? And this was different. I mean, the hours were really long. We only had so many days to shoot, so a lot of our shooting days were 12 hours or more, which was exhausting. And that's like after you get up and get ready and drive to location. And I mean, so there wasn't a lot of sleep, as you might imagine, and just working in very different kinds of conditions. And they had a very international cast, like literally international cast. So it was really interesting, just learning to work with all these different kinds of people who were coming in for the project. So yeah, it was fun, but it was also a real challenge in a good way, though. I love a challenge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I have to imagine that it was a pretty decent budget if they were able to bring in all these different international actors. So that's definitely.
Yeah, they had some good funding. I mean, I know there's never enough funding for anything, but they had some good funding and to get us all over there and whatnot. So yeah, so it was exciting, and it was exciting working and telling the stories of real people. Like not even fictitious, my little film about, No Stones for Oz is fictitious based on similar events. This was based about the actual people that we were, talking about, interviewing and whatnot. So it was really, really personal. And I liked that a lot.
And now, having experience doing some international work, I would imagine that it's something you might be interested in doing in the future, or?
Yes. Yes. No, that's a dream of mine. Have been fortunate enough to be traveling internationally since, like my freshman year in high school. And I've been fortunate to travel many, many countries around the world. I love it. I'm sure at some point in my life I will live abroad. I've done some stints overseas, but and I would love to get involved with more foreign projects. And I just love people. I love meeting people. I love learning about cultures. I mean, I have 2 degrees in history, and I'm fascinated by sociology and current events and politics. And I mean, it's just, I just feel like I'm in school all the time when I'm traveling, and it's just really thrilling for me. So yeah, it'd be a huge dream come true to work on some more international projects. That would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, well, and I mean, hopefully this film will help make that happen for you a little bit easier too. So when does this film actually release?
Yeah,
or is it going to be doing a festival run as well?
It's going to be doing the festival run. It's finished, and I've seen a private screening, which was great. And they're still either running to planning to do, because it's a full-length feature, of course. Festivals, international festivals. Try to apply to submit to cons and some of the others. Either that or going straight to distribution. There was a serious delay. Again, the film world, welcome to my life. There was a serious delay. Unfortunately, the director was diagnosed with cancer. So it really slowed down a lot of the post-production aspects of things. But we're hopeful, and definitely will keep you posted on that one as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and obviously we're going to stay in touch, so we have no problem sharing that out once it gets a little further along.
Thank you.
Yeah. So something listeners may not know about you, Anne, is that you are part of the Screen Actor Guild Awards nominating committee. What's it like being part of a committee like that?
Wow, it's a real honor. It's a highly coveted position because it has a lot of privileges and hard work that come with it.
Yeah.
And I was just really thrilled to have that opportunity. It's so fun and so rewarding. Also, though, for someone like me who's an insanely busy person, we were talking about that earlier, I think, before we started the interview.
Yeah.
The time investment was huge. So the way it works is I get invited to tons of screenings of movies, and often these are in Los Angeles, of course, the ones I'm going to. They're often private screenings of unreleased movies, so you kind of have to sign your life away, of course.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand that.
They
NDA,
almost
NDA,
take
NDA.
your cell phones away. I mean, it's that strict. I mean, they scare you to death. Yeah, but it's really cool. Yeah, NDAs in your world, obviously huge. And then often the chief members of the cast come in at the end of these private screenings, and we get to do a live Q&A with them, which is so amazing. I mean, a couple of my highlights this year, And yeah, I'll just mention like two films. So one was the cast for, so they make you wait, of course. You go in, you have to watch the full feature in the theater, which is great, of course.
Yeah, right.
But we're all really itching to see the cast. and they come in and, they come in their lemos like right after, and they come out on the stage about 10 minutes after the screening finishes.
Like, and now it begins.
Yeah. I know. We're like, oh, finally they're here. Yeah. So one of the ones I had a really good time at was the cast for Battle of the Sexes, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. So we had right there on stage, we had Steve Carell, Elizabeth Shue, Bill Pullman, and Alan Cumming, I just adore Alan Cumming. So that was exciting for me. And just, get to hear them talk about the film, making the film, talking about what it was like being in character for them, and then giving us as a committee a chance to ask them questions and whatnot, which was just really fun. Another favorite for me this year, disclosure. Parenthetical disclosure, I'm a huge fan of British film and television.
Okay.
Bit of a junkie on the side, and have some really phenomenal actors, as you know. So it was a real treat for me to see a private pre-screening of Victoria and Albert, because I have always been inspired so much by Judi Dench. She's been acting professionally for 60 years, my God, which is incredible. And she's amazing as Queen Victoria. The screening was fun. The screening was just for the SAG nominating committee members. And it was in a very small theater space because there was only, maybe 100 seats, something like that. And I'm always early for these things because it's first come, first serve on the seating. So I'm there like at 2 hours in advance before there's even anyone to like unlock the door. And there are people looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, I don't care. So it's great. So I was able to get a front row center seat. So when Judi Dench came into this tiny little theater, literally sat right in front of me for the Q&A. It was definitely one of the highlights of my year. I mean, she's so down to earth and human and accessible and spunky, and she's 82. I mean, yeah. But just for any actress who really loves studying the craft with a passion, which I do deeply love the craft itself, she's hugely inspirational. And then, of course, Ali Fazul was there. He was great in the film. He came out with her, like on his arm, almost as if they hadn't left the movie, which was so weird because I think she had a little limp. She'd hurt her knee or her ankle or something. Ooh, so he just walked her out on the stage. And then Eddie Izzard was there, who's a supporting actor in the film and one of my favorite British stand-up artists.
Yes.
So I was kind of blissed out. I was. So. But can I just say one thing about all these, when I get to see these amazing, incredible actors, and when you go into the room and you're in the same room with them in a close space, what's amazing is how small they are.
Yeah.
Because they're just normal people like us. They're just, Steve Carell, I don't know what his actual height is, but, maybe 5'9". I hope I didn't insult him because I don't know, short for 5'10". I don't know. I mean, he's just and Eddie Izzard is even shorter than that. Oh, yeah. And it's just so fun. You just feel like you really get in the human presence of great artists. But when you're in the room with them, they're just so like everybody else. It's just kind of magical to me. I love that. It's sort of like all the divides that we create around fans and all that kind of thing. It kind of melts away, and you just feel like you're kind of chilling out with normal people. And that's very inspiring as an actor because, as an actor, you're always aspiring, right, to be these amazing characters and people and like, oh, if only I was taller, if only I was this or that or the other thing. And you're like, no, just be yourself. These people really got where they are from really just being themselves. And so that's very motivating for me and as an actor, I think, and I appreciate all they do to go out of their way to be accessible like that and motivate other people that share the industry with them. So, okay, yeah, and I didn't get too excited.
No, totally understandable. It's a heck of an experience in all honesty. But I think what's great about that is it's amazing when the people that you're the people that we're talking about here have had amazing careers, they're, very high up on the scale of like, top actors or actresses. And so it's great to hear them be as accessible as you, said they were. It's very easy, I feel like, some people to just kind of get into their own little bubble and kind of just be like, yeah, I am that amazing. And who are you? You know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to have people actually still be people, and actually be accessible.
And there are a lot of still real people, and there are a few that are not. I will say that as well. So don't have your dreams dashed when your favorite hero is a total jerk to you, because it happens.
Yeah.
But I would say on average, the majority, you can't really be an actor, a committed actor. If you're committed to the craft of acting, you can't really be a committed actor if you're not so in touch with connecting with other human beings. You have to have the human touch. If you lose that, you can become a star, but you're going to be distant, and if you get too big of an ego and all that. But when the craft is more important to you than the money, then you stay a human being, and I think that's what makes an actor really amazing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a distinguishing trait.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the 24th Screen Actors Guild Awards will be airing January 21st next year.
Yes.
So definitely be sure to tune in for that.
Tune in.
And see all the votes and see who wins.
Yes.
A lot of great categories, a lot of great films. So I would love to close this interview with talking a little bit more about your work as an acting and life coach. Some of the listeners may not know that you do that, but how long have you been coaching?
I've been coaching about 5 years now,
Wow.
I think. Yeah, it's been about 5 years already. Wow. And I'm gearing up for more.
What made you decide to create Up by Design, your acting and life coach company?
Yeah, so I had been coaching actors and other people in the entertainment industry, basically coaching other creative people, either in the craft or even more so in sort of life approach, and how do you be an artist and make it in the world, and how do you be an artist and stay a human being and still have food on the table, and all these real life questions. So that's the kind of coaching I'd been doing, and it was going really well, and I was really enjoying it. And so I decided to expand and take the creative vibe to those outside the industry as well, so, which I can kind of explain. I should say first, I'm a true believer in the value of coaching. I've been an active part of coaching and mastermind communities as well for over 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And at any given time, I have several coaches of my own at any given time, more than one, specialized in some specific area of what I'm focusing on. I have the craft of acting, I'll have one or two coaches. And then, I'll have my own sort of overall life kind of coach. And then I'll have someone who's coaching me on coaching, it's just, and it makes all the difference in the world for me when I have a coach. I mean, it takes everything to the next level if you're willing to commit and do it. And so I really wanted to pass that opportunity on to others. And so what I do is it's real life management coaching. It's not just butterflies and rainbows kind of stuff.
Yeah. No.
Nothing against butterflies and rainbows. I mean, I got my credentials from a highly respected College of Executive Coaching. And you have to already have a master's degree to even get accepted into their program. So they take it really seriously, so what I'm specifically able to do is bring the best of business coaching to creatives, which is highly needed, and also bring the best of the creative arts world and the creative mind to mainstream business clients, which is also really needed. It's been a really beautiful fit, and it's working really well.
It seems like it would be. I feel like some of the listeners might actually be interested in that. Because I feel like, this is a film and television themed podcast, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are either in the industry that could really benefit from those services.
Absolutely. And, and if they're industry specific, then I have other ways to incorporate that into their program or bring in other experts into their program.
Perfect.
Or if they're aspiring actors, then I have a lot of experience in that, obviously, myself. So
that is awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. And, as we mentioned before, we'll leave links to all the topics discussed in today's interview, as well as a link to your acting and life coach company website as well.
And can I make one distinguishing on that on the coaching site? So it's AnneScottlinCoaching.com. That's the easiest one to remember. I do have an Up by Design URL, but it's upbydesign.life. So I just want to distinguish that. If you type in upbydesign.com, I'm waiting for that one. I think it's currently a decorating company. So
it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like the battle continues.
Yeah, so it's upbydesign.life, or just go to AnneScottlinCoaching.com, and you'll be right there. So
perfect. Yeah, we'll leave a link to both just so no one gets
Appreciate
confused.
That.
So, well, thanks so much, and good luck with your future career, and we'll
Thank
stay in touch,
you.
and maybe we can get you on the show later on.
Absolutely. I would love to be back, and I'm looking forward to all your upcoming podcasts and just staying in touch. Thank you so much. This has been a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we are back from our interview, and it is time to get into my favorite section of the show, which is What to Watch, where we tell you what to watch over the next week, and you listen, because we got some great ideas here. We got some great recommendations. You don't have to listen, but your week's going to be better if you do.
You should listen.
There you go. You should listen. So I'm going to start with Bright. All right. This is a movie that's coming out on Netflix December 22nd. So it's going to come out this week. Going to drop. I want everyone to watch this with me. Though I have mixed feelings on whether or not it will turn out well, the content has me intrigued. The story follows an LAPD officer who is forced to work with an orc. Why, yes, I did just say an orc. Because in this world, mythical creatures live right alongside humans. That's right. And these two cops must find a weapon that everyone is prepared to kill for. And from the trailer, it looks like it's a magical wand, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know, man. This film still looks awesome. The film stars Will Smith as a human cop and Joel Edgerton in full-on prosthetic makeup as the orc. Why you should watch it? For starters, the style is phenomenal. Some really striking effects and really awesome cinematography. The story is simple enough to not mess up, and it's still entertaining. So I'm hoping that that's the key here, because again, I had mixed feelings, but I feel like the story is simple enough that they're not going to mess it up. And the world, as far as the trailers go, seems really believable, which is kind of saying a lot, because you got orcs, elves, and humans running around here, which could be very ridiculous, but it's not. I mean, you got like orcs and gangs, man. They're like flashing gang signs, like that orc status, like get out my swamp, dog, intense. And also there's a titty bar gunfight. So need I say more? Go see the movie. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to tweet about it. You going to watch this, Amanda?
Yeah, actually, I've been kind of keeping my eye on it for a while since it just looks like okay, like I don't want to say that it looks super realistic, but it does look like okay, if we were to kind of discover these like fairy tale creatures living among us, like more likely what would happen with them in like a real world scenario, if that makes sense.
You know what? Actually, what it kind of reminds me of is End of Watch with Jake Gyllenhaal, where it was like that really, it's a really phenomenal film. Also watch that, guys. I'm going to do two real quick. I'm not going to go into that, but it's a good movie. But it's End of Watch is like this super realistic police movie that dealt with LAPD officers. And they had like a lot of gang incidents and they were dealing with the cartels. But it's kind of interesting because like this is kind of a situation where the storyline just pops off and they have like this one crazy night, which is kind of like End of Watch. But it's very realistic in the way that they shoot things and the way that things are lit. Like it's not like fantastical to a degree. Obviously there's some good effects, but
are there orcs in it?
Well, yeah, obviously there's not an End of Watch. No, sadly they didn't have the budget for that.
Oh man, yeah, those orcs are they're costly, man. Like,
dude, they cost a lot of money. Yeah. Plus, they're really grumpy to have on set.
I know.
They're constantly breaking things. It's just not fun.
So much drama there.
Orcs, man. Everyone knows orcs are just drama. Just avoid them. So.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, so The Shape of Water. I just had the opportunity to see this movie yesterday, and I thought it was fantastic. I really liked it. It's by Guillermo del Toro, so you kind of know it's going to be pretty good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. Basically, The Shape of Water is about a young woman named Eliza who works in a high-security government facility during the Cold War era. This facility is holding a mysterious scaled creature that Eliza makes a connection with. So it has this kind of fairy tale aspect to it. Even in the trailer, I mean, if you watch the trailer, there's a narrator who says, he literally introduces the character by saying, this is, she's a princess, essentially. So they're kind of going with this fairy tale vibe about it. It's a little creepy at parts. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, what? Obviously we won't spoil it, so don't freak out if you're hearing her talk, obviously. But.
Yeah, no, there's no spoilers here. I mean, this is anything that you'll see in the trailer is what I'm talking about. I mean, they show him in the trailer, so he's like this humanoid fish creature, but he's very intelligent, so I guess that makes it not weird. I definitely think one of the most beautiful things about it, though, is that the main character is mute, because there is so much that you can say without actually saying anything. It's a beautiful film. There are some cheesy parts where I cringed a little bit, but I was also
there's a cringe factor to this film, guys.
I was very quickly able to get over those moments, and I still loved the movie. It had a very romantic fairy tale aspect to it that I think that's kind of what made it a really great film.
Yeah. Well, I love Guillermo del Toro as a director, first off. So I'm really excited to see the film. And he definitely is one of those directors, which I think this is the reason why I like him so much, is he's got that style. It's his film. So I'm excited to go and buy a ticket back onto the Guillermo del Toro train.
Right. Go see Shape of Water. Go see it.
Well, that's the end of episode 3 of the Film Revered podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Some end of the show notes. Be sure to show your support for the FR podcast by leaving a review on any of the following apps or services: iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Castbox, Player FM, TuneIn Radio, Pocket Cast, Mixclouds, whatever you're listening to us on. Leave a review. Let us know how you feel about the show, what you like. If you enjoy the show and would like to ask a question for the podcast, feel free to write us at filmrevered@gmail.com or check out the Inboxes tab on our website at filmrevered.com. Next week, there will be no episode in observance of the holidays, but stay tuned as we plan to start the new year with a bang. More info to come. Thanks again from all of us here at Film Revered. Have a great week and happy holidays.